Before you go, you make yourself updated, as I said, with the new rules. You don't want to be using the old rules. And as Indranil said now, after the Olympics, we're going to have quite a few changes. Like the bounces, the pass-through changes is not going to be there anymore. We will not stop it. Do you understand? So if you're going to, for example, this is the best example, if in the qualification round, now if we have a bouncer, we stop. If next year we are not supposed to stop and you want to stop the match, it will give a very bad image, okay? So, another thing, I was, 2007 I went to Rome, there was a championship. I had my judging equipments with me in a suitcase, and my suitcase somehow did not arrive. So for 3 days, I did not have my judge equipments with me. Okay, so we have the caliper, which is not, which is considered to be a prohibited object to take with you in the plane. So what I usually do, I take my cards and my whistle and my time and all that with me inside the plane, apart from the compass and the sharp objects, okay? Can you go to the next slide? Okay. Now, another thing we get in Asia, I get many emails from the chairman that, you know, now it's customary, we make a WhatsApp group and we make communications. And as I think it was Indranil was saying again in the duties of a chair, we send emails and at the end he says, we say you reply so that we know you received it. And they come to touch with me, say this judge who made himself available is not responding. And I find the judge through another friend and he says, no, I have 2 email addresses. One is for archery and one is for my work. So this is not good. You make sure that you update your emails in our website and you're always available. When you get to the event in the hotel the first day, as Indranil said again yesterday, you know beforehand when would be your first meeting. You say, like, I arrived, my room number is this, so your chairman knows that you're there. In the field, before you go in the field, in the big events, we get a road book, but nowadays everything is on the net. You should know, on the plane, you should know that roughly which days you are having elimination, which days you're having the team event. Now, how many archers participate? So if you, can you go to the next slide? If you go to if you're on the field and a coach comes to you and the coach says, for example, is there going to be a cut at 104 position and you only have 100 archers, you are not going to have a cut. So it's not going to be nice to say, yes, there will be a cut at 104. That coach will know you are not in the game. You understand? Be updated. When you get to the field for the equipment inspection, the chairman usually divides into 2 groups. One checks the lanes, one checks the target faces, and then you come back and you give your observations. We speak to the LOC people. If there are some changes to be made, we make. And something I want you to cooperate with LOC, especially in Asia. Sometimes cost is important for us. Some things we should be very strict on, but some things that we can go along with it. Don't make things too tough. Don't change target faces if we do not need to change target faces. Today, even at world archery level, when we have the practice at 3 ends, the DOS says these are not only your practice targets, so please make sure you mark the arrow holes. So as we talked about the common mistake, the target face, you check the measurements on a flat table. You never do it on the target. Okay, it's very unprofessional. In the qualification, when you're walking at all time, check for uniform, check for camo. Now I know in one of the World Cups, my Indian friends, for the World Cup, for the finals, if I'm not mistaken, they just changed their shoes the last minute, and it was a camo shoes. So I want to say that it's not that you check only on the qualification. If you're passing, be vigilant. It might be, you know, you see something you can prevent. Sometimes maybe about also clothes, maybe somebody left something in a hotel room. Maybe they can do something about it. Now safety is, as I said, in field, now it's really important. I believe now we should be more concerned about this hydro, and again, it is not just for the first day. Okay, if you notice something which is even not in your target, please bring to the attention of your chairman. Be focused at all times, not like today, that some of you are not so much focused. So if you see an archer is on the 10 seconds, or if you feel, especially on the team event, they are not going to have enough time, be prepared, be close to them. If they are left-handed, try, if there is a need for you to move, make sure you see the release. I would try and put myself in a position to be confident, and also sometimes, if I can, also have a look at the time as well. That requires your sharpness, okay? And also when you are faced with situations like pass-throughs that you might not know until you get to the target, some situations you will know then, make sure you make your decision on facts and not hearsay, okay? Try and find evidence. What I would do on every end, the first thing I check is the timing on every end. So in Turin World Championship, where there was a big mistake and people are still talking about it, if we check the clock, not only the DOS, we could have prevented many problems, okay? Every end you do that. Now, especially when you have suddenly you have a tie, I mean, like it has been like for 3 hours, the timing has been 180 seconds. Suddenly it's going to be a 30 second. There could be a problem there, so be vigilant, okay? Now this, I'm going to tell you I would say a magic guideline that works for me. I would say when I go to a restaurant, or if in the entrance to me everything is good, it's clean, there is somebody to smile and say your reservation is there, I feel that everything is going to be fine for me there. In archery, the very first end of a round, if you make sure things are correct and in place, usually, hopefully, it will be fine to the last end. So, I'm going to give you some examples. When I have a team match, if the lanes are very tight. If I, for the first end of practice even, I go and stay on simultaneous I'm talking about, where I usually stay, so when they practice, they know this is the place that I will be occupying. They arrange themselves. But if I suddenly go there and they just see me there, and for the past 3 ends, they have been practicing here, my position, the movements, you understand? Now, the very first end where things can go wrong, on practice, the most important thing that you must do is you check if your archers are there. Okay? Check if your archers are there. And you prevent many problems. Our top archer, Zahra, who got the gold medal in London, she lost by forfeit in Asian Games in, I think, Indonesia, because she was not there in her position. She and her coach, they thought that, you know, the match will start in 15 minutes later. If the judge on the practice had noticed this, we could have prevented that. Another thing that happened a few months ago, in a World Cup in Turkey, an important event, a last qualifier for the Olympics. Team Iran, my team again, it's really a shame. We have the highest number of judges in the world. In terms of ranking, Iran is first in the world. And yet, we get disqualified most in the world. It's really funny. So, what I want to tell you is this. What happened on the qualification round, Iran, it was full, it was A, B, C, D. So Iran, we had 121A and we had 122A. Okay? So what these guys did, so I was supposed to shoot on 21A and you 22A for no reason. I shot on your position, you shot on my position. So they did 3 ends of practice, the judge did not notice. On the very first end, the judge did not notice. They go to the target and then they pick up the scoreboard, say, oops, I should have been here, he should have been here. I mean, to me, it could have been a switch, but today World Archery wants to be consistent, and World Archery says this end, 0 for you, 0 for you. Change. But here, the judge is also to blame. So if you can prevent, this is a judge's duty. So they spoke to the judge, and the judge said, well, I was checking, I saw the Iranian uniform. You check the name. And no, I mean, you don't, not the, at least you can check the name behind you. They give you like, at the most 6 targets, 6 times 24 people. You have 3 ends of practice. You just walk and you check the name. It's a very simple thing to do, but you prevent. If, for example, on the first end of elimination, my friend Manyan was talking about flip score. When you are at the target, if you make sure that they make their flip score the first end, then for the next ends, they will all update it in between themselves. So if you, on the first end, make life easier even for yourself. Arrow holes, the markings, that becomes very important in the indoor. You get some clever archers trying to use thick pens. So what you do there, you change the target face and you inform the archer you're not supposed to do that. You don't argue over this. You understand? So, and that also happens more in compound. I don't know how that goes around. You must be ready, as I said, when you're focused, you think negative. What can go wrong? Now, as I say, like 4 final individual, you do not need to have a yellow card with you. You think ahead. What can go wrong, especially on a team event? Many things can go wrong, many things, okay? Be focused when you're on duty, and be fast, be sharp and firm. You know, when you make that decision, when you give that card, target one, but again, to the benefit of the archer. If you're not sure, don't do anything, okay? You give that benefit. If you're focused, if you're not focused, this is where you're not going to be sure. Now, when some chairmen like Carla, they ask for anything that you see, you make your report and you give it to your chair. This will help the next tournament. This will help our committee. This will help our LOC. So make sure you have your notebook with you. My friend Manian was saying that, you know, for the indoor, can we, like when we are working to find the arrow, if you have your notebook and if you don't want to make the scorecard messy, you can also do that. Go step by step. That notebook is very important. If you go to the jury of appeal, if you have to say something, I would say like in the second at about 10:45, I gave a yellow card to team blah. Now don't waste your commission's time for things like I had, I don't know, some things you have to discuss in the group. Today you have to discuss in the group that I think there was this archer is using a dangerous technique, or you could discuss in the group, I think target 34, we are having many issues with this target, or this archer missed an arrow and we couldn't find it. In the Olympics, we had archers missing the target. It happens. You understand? These things, but not, I mean, like I had 5 arrow call. I mean, or like, as I said, don't change the target face for no reason. Keep the pace of the competition going, okay? And also now, at the end of the day, you prepare yourself for tomorrow's event. If it's a team event, you make sure you have your cards with you. When you come from the hotel, don't leave anything there. Usually we get in big events 2 sets of uniforms, maybe one from the LOC. At the end of this day, your chairman says, tomorrow we are wearing this color shirt. Get yourself ready for that. Don't take the commission's time. Now, I am finished with the judge's duties. If you have any questions about any of what happened in the past 2-3 days, we have a Q&A. We're talking about safety here. We talk about not only about equipment, but also about the techniques and some very normal things that can happen in archery. So safety. So when we start, the very basic things that we do, the very basic things, can you go to the next slide? Things that might not look dangerous to you, like drawing the bow in the archer's rest area without an arrow. There is a reason why in the rule it says that you are only allowed to do that on the shooting line. What Indranil was talking about in the blind, controlling the runners, the agents, it has happened. And if an incident occurs today, it will give our sport a very bad image. And news travels fast, and this is an Olympic sport. And I could tell you that in terms of safety, maybe 80% of the scenario will be blamed on us judges because we could not prevent. Can we go to the next slide? Now this is a very basic things when we start from our clubs or schools. Even when you are pulling out an arrow, if a third archer or a fourth archer is standing here, you could damage the archer. So I think it was in the World Cup again in Shanghai. We had many things happening in Shanghai. An archer shot the arrow in the wood, the top part of the butt, and it would not somehow come out. So we had like 2 or 3 archers were trying to pull from here, and suddenly one person, a national judge, went behind on top of the target, also trying to help them pull. So when this came off, the national judge on the top also came off with it. Okay? So this is a World Cup. Apart from the fact that it doesn't look nice, I mean, safety, you don't necessarily have to kill somebody. So you try and prevent. It doesn't look nice. You go to the next slide. Now, the most common safety issue that we are faced with is hydro. Now, what is a hydro? And if we have a specific guidelines for that, and also the fact that the coach and an archer would accept that as a hydro is a little difficult, okay? So the rule says DOS, with cooperation of the chairman of judges and judges, if they see an archer is using a technique that can, in terms of safety, harm anyone, for the interest of this safety, can ask the archer finally to leave the field. So lately, it's not just the hydro that we are concerned. We are also concerned with the side draw. So there are 2 main stories to this. Now, we must consider, we talked about now this wide draw thing, and does this have the same effect on a recurve bow? Is it the same on a compound bow? And today on a bare bow? And what should we do and how we deal with it? Can you go to the next slide? When we are talking about a hydro, especially on a compound bow, we must, I mean, we don't have a measuring device to go and say, archer, stop. Let me see how many degrees you're pulling this up or down. You must also, in favor of the archer, you must also think that how could a safety problem happen? Here, and go to the next slide. No, can you go back? Okay, there is a, okay. You see that? Now, this side draw, especially on the final events, when we have a narrow venue and a long venue, from here, if an arrow is shot, let's say on a wide draw, let's say 10 centimeters from here, 80 meters at the end, it could land in the spectator's venue. And lately we have seen that happening. Now I see sometimes if you as a judge see this, and if there is even no complaint, you take action anywhere in archery. I told you about exam techniques. If a question comes, what would you do? And there is a option, don't do anything. There you think, if something you see is wrong with scoring, whatever, you take action. So if you usually on a equipment inspection day, your chairman assigns 2 of you to go along the line, check for the camo and also for the hydro. When you come back, it's to your belief it could be a hydro. So when it's a hydro, you stay behind the judge, behind the archer, and watch them for several times. Okay? Now, you can also take a picture. And the important thing is, I've seen I saw that in Asian Games. I told one of our new judges that if you see this, so if you want to take a picture, and if the archer is shooting here, you don't go in front of him and say, look, I'm taking a picture from you. You know, he's going to hide from you. You take that picture quietly to see his normal rhythm, his normal technique, and you discuss with your fellow judges even before you speak to your chairman. And if they think that this could be a hydro, then you bring it to the attention of your chairman. Okay? The action you will take with coordination of your chairman, you speak to the team captain, to the coach, you're saying that your archer is using a technique that is dangerous and they must change, and you keep on checking after that, and if he carries on the same thing, your chairman might ask him to leave the field. Okay? Can you go to the next slide? Now, what is important here is that there must be, apart from the angle, there must be what the book says, a considerable pull, that if accidentally this arrow is released, it will fly beyond the safety area. So if this, to me, is even here, I mean, it's not going to cause any trouble. The trouble is when the pull is considerable. Can you go to the next slide, please? Okay. Can you see that? Now, another thing that you must take into account. This picture is taken. Now, the pull here is going to get more, but at the same time, it's coming down. It's not going up. Okay, this is another thing that you must consider. So we don't have a measuring device for this. Okay? But I can see here, there is a considerable pull. You see here, this closer this hand gets inside, at the same time this is coming down. So this is, to me, right now here, I feel it can be dangerous. Okay? So this is the archer, so you must watch her again. Okay? And this is a recurve bow now. Okay? Can you go to the next slide? Now, we know on a compound bow with a higher poundage, it can be more dangerous, this high hydro. This is a very experienced archer from USA. And it's not so clear here, the string, because of the color. But from what I see, the angle is high, but there's so little pull here. So I would say in 1 second, the pull will be more, but this will also be coming down. Okay? What you would see as a 100% hydro is the angle and the pull. This is very important, and I will show you at the end how this, at this high angle, how and where it can land. Okay, so with a compound bow, you must be more concerned. Okay, can you go to the next slide? Now here, this is the traditional bow. It doesn't have much poundage like the compound bow. It will not fly that far anyway. You understand? If you compare this with a compound bow, the strength is really not much. And also this guy is an old man like me, he's not so strong to pull that. Can you go to the next one? Okay, here you see a compound bow. Okay, now here, from the angle that I am seeing, this hand here is very close. Okay, and but this string here is what you must be focusing on. The angle is high and the bow is compound. So as I said, it is not a one-time decision like the arrow call. You have to watch this several times. I will come back to some pictures and I'll tell you what I would have said would have been the most dangerous one. Can you go to the next one? Okay, now this is indoor. Okay, and again a compound bow. Can you see the angle to me here is at least 40, maybe 50, 45, 50. Okay, so what can happen? You might say that there is a wall and it will not fly after the safety, it will not hurt anybody. What it could do, if the arrow goes and hits the wall, what can happen?
Bounce back?
It can bounce back. So we can have a safety issue. So that's the first one. You might have a venue like we did have many years before. It was like an ocean or something that say, okay, if it flies over, the arrow is going to fall in the, I don't know, in the sea or something. So this is how you must think. It can fly back. And it's a compound bow. Now, you see we got a good pull here. What kind of bow is this firstly? Bear bow, okay. So this is field archery. The nature of the game is this, the target is at the top. So there's no problem. They have thought of this before when they set the venue. Can we go to the, okay. Now, apart from this, I have seen also, is this a North Korean archer or a Chinese archer? Yeah, I also saw a North Korean archer. Apart from the side draw, the rule said any techniques, okay? So we had this lady archer from North Korea, I think, a very small archer, a good shooter, but she did not have the strength and her technique when she wanted to pull that arrow, it was like her technique to, the head would be here. So if this arrow is accidentally left, there is a good pull on it. There's a good pull, considerable pull here, and she is not seeing anything in the front. It is not just the hydro issue. We sometimes have the compound sights, and sometimes there is a fiber, there is something around it that blocks the archer to see around. If something comes around because of safety, we don't allow that. So anything that jeopardizes the safety is not allowed, and we as judges are responsible for that. Definitely not allowed, and if she cannot correct her technique, she cannot shoot on the field. Okay? The other pictures that we saw, they can, if they know that they will be disqualified. But this archer here, this is a tougher technique. This shows that she is using force to take the arrow back. Can you go to the next slide? Okay. Now this is like a study. I just want you to know how far the arrow will end. Okay. If you imagine an archer of like near 2 meters tall, 6'5" tall, okay? If it is shooting at a lower target, you see this target here? The normal draw, if she shoots 5 degrees, the angle where the arrow is left, 5 degrees is higher, you will see the arrow will end up in this area. If it's 7 degrees higher again, the arrow, especially on a compound bow, could end up somewhere here in the trees. So what Indranil was saying today, can you imagine in Paris, so many people in a condensed area, and this incident happened and the arrow went, it will give a very bad image to this Olympic sport. This is here for you to know that if you don't take action on a high draw, the arrow could even fly here. So it's our job as judges, okay? If you see something, even if there is no complaint, you look, just to go again, 3 basic things. First, the pull. When the arrow is, when it's being pulled, if the pull is considerable and it says accidentally released, meaning that the intention of the archer is to pull it a little more and bring the bow down, but accidentally it can happen, it gets released. What will be done? The second thing for you to do is not to make a one-time decision, to watch the archer a few times, confer with your other judges, then confer with the chairman, and you discuss it. Can you go to the other? Okay, so coming to the first things that we talk about also, sometimes I see when it's raining, some archers in the rest area, I mean, that is not a safety issue. They just pull it short. I've seen some judges giving like, not warning, saying you cannot do that. Do you understand what I'm talking about? When it's raining, the string, that's okay. But yeah, but I see many times, we still see in big tournaments, the archers are making a full draw, even without an arrow. It is not allowed. You can only pull the arrow with or without, pull the bow with or without an arrow on the shooting line. Okay, it can go. Have you, any of you, seen a limb break? It can be pretty dangerous. I've seen it. Okay, so this is prevention. People are sitting in the resting area, your other coaches, if it breaks, it can cause a lot of trouble. Okay, so we can even, I've seen sometimes archers coming with the arrow on the bow coming back. So it's not any techniques, anything that jeopardizes safety in archery, it's our job to stop it. Okay? So, and the most important of that is high draw. So, any questions?